Imagine spending years watching someone you love slowly disappear, not physically, but mentally. A person who used to remember every family story, every birthday, and every face slowly loses access to all of it. Diseases like Alzheimer's and other severe forms of dementia actively destroy brain cells. They break down the physical tissue that holds a lifetime of experiences, severing the neural pathways required to form thoughts and recognize loved ones. This anatomical diagram shows the progression of the disease. As the brain shrinks, the physical zones responsible for memory and speech turn dark. Medical consensus holds that once these specific areas are physically gone, the abilities they control cannot return. Because of this biological reality, families prepare themselves for the inevitable early on. They grieve the total loss of a parent or spouse, assuming the person they once knew is already gone long before their physical heart actually stops beating. Yet, across hospitals and nursing homes around the world, doctors consistently record a phenomenon that contradicts this medical baseline. Take the case of a woman suffering from advanced Alzheimer's. She had been silent and unresponsive for years. Then, one evening, she sat up and smiled. She looked directly at her daughter and called her by name. She spoke with total clarity, vividly recalling specific childhood stories and family events from decades ago. The family was completely stunned. But the most striking part of this event is its timing. This window of clarity almost always happens right at the very end, hours or sometimes just minutes before the patient dies. Doctors call this terminal lucidity. It creates an anatomical paradox, a machine with heavily destroyed physical hardware suddenly operating flawlessly. Scientists have documented cases of terminal lucidity for hundreds of years. But while there are thousands of consistent global eyewitness reports, we have almost no hard clinical data. Brain scans of a patient experiencing this are virtually non-existent. Studying it in a lab setting is a logistical impossibility. The onset happens completely unexpectedly. Researchers have no way of knowing when a patient might wake up, and by the time they do, the immediate approach of death leaves no time to attach diagnostic equipment. That forces medical science to rely on forensic testimony. Researchers piece together the event using accounts from the attending doctors, the nurses and caregivers, and the family members who were standing in the hospital room. Without live neurological data to map exactly what the brain is doing in these moments, the underlying mechanics remain hidden, leaving researchers to speculate based on indirect evidence. To find a physical explanation, the medical community relies on two primary hypotheses. The first is what we can call the chemical surge. This diagram shows how the theory might work in a damaged brain. As the body begins its final shutdown process, it might release a terminal flood of chemicals. This chemical wave could temporarily supercharge whatever fragmented neural networks are still left intact, creating a short burst of clarity. The second theory looks at hidden pathways. Here, the brain uses secondary connecting lines to bypass the damaged areas. This suggests the brain is more adaptable than we currently realize, maintaining backup routes that science has yet to fully map. Both of these theories struggle with a central problem: the sheer complexity of the cognitive tasks performed. Patients are holding coherent conversations, identifying long-lost relatives, and apologizing for specific past mistakes. These tasks require intact memory and language centers. Neither a brief chemical surge nor backup pathways adequately explains how a brain can execute this level of processing when the physical hardware is missing. Modern neuroscience operates on a core assumption: the mind, memory, and consciousness are exclusively products of the physical brain. If you destroy the tissue, the mind disappears. Terminal lucidity acts as the ultimate test for that rule. If destroying the brain definitively destroys the mind, then the mind should not be able to return inside a ruined brain. This leads some neuroscientists to a difficult question. If the physical hardware to store these memories is gone, where was that awareness hiding for all those years? Every verified case suggests our current understanding of the brain is incomplete, forcing us to question if consciousness is entirely dependent on physical tissue. But if we step back from the scientific debate, we are left with the human reality of the people standing in that hospital room. Caregivers and relatives experience a profound emotional whiplash. A person they thought was gone forever suddenly returns. Their true personality resurfaces, allowing for one final lucid conversation. It is a meaningful reunion, but it is followed by the reality of the timeline. Just as the person returns, they die. Science continues to struggle with the paradox of how this happens, but for the families who experience it, they are left with a brief final gift, a goodbye from a mind that refused to fade before the very end.